Hey everybody, this is Ken. We're back in my garage, and we were at our whiteboard again. And the reason I'm here is because my last video got a lot of comments, and I really actually appreciate the comments, good or bad. I learned a lot from them, and I learned a lot about what people want to hear and what they need to hear. And I want to clear up some things and maybe make it a little easier for you to tune your particular vehicle for the way you drive and the things you use in it. And I want to start by talking about gasoline. I don't have that listed up here, but gasoline nowadays has alcohol in it, right? There is non-ethanol, well, it has ethanol in it, not alcohol. But there is non-ethanol at some pumps, and that should be straight gasoline, unleaded of course. And that is what I put in my rigs and in my hot rods. My little economy car, that gets regular ethanol gas. My Mustang, my truck, any high performance motors I build, I always recommend non-ethanol fuel. And that's what I based that last video on, where I'm talking about tuning the ACES and how the system functions. And so that may mislead some of you. I talk about stoichiometric ratio. That's the perfect ratio to burn all the oxygen that's in the air with the fuel. I need a certain amount of fuel to burn all that oxygen to make the power to make the pistons move up and down. So stoichiometric is 14.7 to 1 for gasoline. That's an AFR, gasoline for gasoline. It is 14.7 to 1. Now when you start putting ethanol in it, that changes a lot. Today's pumps are anywhere from 10 to 15 percent ethanol. And if you're running ethanol gasoline, and I'm just going to use that with an E here, your stoichiometric or perfect ratio is closer to 14 to 1. So when you're tuning your tables and you're setting your AFR, your air fuel ratio table, if you're sticking regular pump gas that has ethanol in it, this is the number you're shooting for. This is too lean. This is the number you're shooting for in that case. Now, if you go and you do 15% ethanol, which is in some pumps, you're dropping even lower than this. You're dropping closer to 13 point, I think it's, man, hard for me to put that in my mind. I think it's 13.7 to 1. Trying to do the math. It's a little bit of a progressive curve, but so if you're running the ethanol gas, regular pump gas, shoot for these numbers. If 10 to 1, 10% alcohol, ethanol, 15% ethanol, or somewhere close to that. I don't remember this number exactly. It might be an 8 or a 6. I don't remember. But those are the numbers you should be adjusting your tables to. All right? Now there is a little bit of a caveat to that. Let me erase that so it's not in the way. And that's when we're talking about how you distribute that fuel. If you're using a throttle body, now that would be the KILLSHOT, you are sending that fuel right into the air at the top of the intake manifold, right? If you're using port injection, that would be one of the kits that's actually spraying the fuel right down in individual intake ports. That's called port injection, and that gets rid of the distance from where your throttle body is sitting to your port where it's injecting, right? The air is still passing through there. You still have a throttle body, but the fuel is not. So the difference is when we're using a throttle body fuel injection, the KILLSHOT, our distribution of fuel and air is dependent on the intake manifold that you're using. And some intakes are inefficient in their distribution of fuel. Well, obviously if you're putting the fuel right in this hole and you have runners coming off to your different cylinders, the runners on the ends are longer, right? And if you're accelerating in this direction, the force of you accelerating is pushing the fuel that direction, making these rich, lean, and just right. How would I say just right? We're gonna put a smiley face. Those cylinders are happy. That one's rich. That one's lean, and that's the way it goes. And there's not much you can do to fix that. Okay. But when we're looking for our AFR and we're using one of these, we're measuring our AFR in an exhaust port, right? In an exhaust collector for most of us. So we're reading a combination. I should have just left that up there. It was a nice little spider manifold. So if our O2 is out here, we're reading whatever is being delivered to all four of these cylinders, right? It's seeing a mixture of these. But as I just said, if we're accelerating this direction, our fuel is probably rich back here and lean up here. Now that's all right to be a little rich on acceleration. It's actually a good thing. Just a little bit, not a lot. But this cylinder up here might be lean. This one up here might be getting, I don't know, it might be, let's just go 15-1. And we don't like that up here. And this one back here might be 13-1. That's a happy one. But what your O2 is going to see in the middle is 14-1. And it thinks all is good. All right? And it doesn't even know what's happening on this side if you only have one O2 sensor. So we have to take into account, if we're using throttle body injection and the fuel is going in right here into our KILLSHOT, we possibly have lean and rich conditions throughout our engine. Hold on a sec, gotta let the dog out. There you go. So one of the things we can do to counter this is to run it a little rich. So we increase what we're seeing, or what we, at our O2, we set our AFR richer. We set it to 13.5 or 12 or whatever we want. Whatever makes your engine happy really is what we're looking for. That's why we read spark plugs. In this day and age, you wouldn't think you'd have to, but that is so critical to read your spark plugs. If you guys learn that, get yourself a good magnifier and look at those plugs, you will see lean and rich indications on your spark plug. You will know which one of these cylinders is not getting good distribution, and that's the cylinder you're going to try to protect with your AFR. In this scenario here, I'm seeing this one is lean, and if I was originally trying for 14.7-1, I would then adjust this ratio. I would probably cut it down to 14.0, and if that didn't work, 13.5, trying to make this one happy, because burning a hole in a piston or a valve or breaking a ring is a whole lot more catastrophic than occasionally fouling this plug in the back if I'm too rich. So that's with your throttle body. Now, port injection eliminates most of this problem because I'm shooting the fuel in right here into these cylinders and finish my cylinders into those cylinders, and that gets rid of my distribution problem. So you can see that port injection is a lot nicer to tune. Even if I'm just using one O2 sensor, I'm at least getting the same amount of fuel into each one of these cylinders, so my O2 reading is probably correct or really close for all those cylinders. Does that make sense? I'm hoping it does. I'm hoping it does. So I guess what I'm telling you is to tune a little rich if you're using a KILLSHOT. Not as rich as their tables are. I mean, their tables are horrendously rich, at least for most engines. And if you're using pump gas, now we're tuning even richer because it's got ethanol in it. So we are going to shoot for 14:1, and now we're using a manifold that might be having a distribution problem, and we'll know that by reading our plugs since we only have one O2 sensor. So maybe we should shoot for 13.8 or something as our stoichiometric, as the number. It's not stoichiometric, but it's the number we might want to shoot for. A little rich. But this is all how your motor runs, how your spark plugs look, and yeah, go from there. I had one more thing. Oh, the best of all of these worlds is direct injection and reading an O2 out at every exhaust pipe, every exhaust port. Now you'll see that on some dynos and race engines and all that kind of thing, but let's face it, we don't do that. You and I who are using a KILLSHOT, we don't do that. Not even close. All right, did I confuse everybody? Hopefully not. You're running pump gas with a throttle body, and you want to be safe. I'm gonna say, and you're running one O2 sensor, I'm gonna say that'd be a safe number to shoot for if you're not fouling your plugs with that. Pump gas. KILLSHOT. I don't care if it's the classic or KILLSHOT 1, 2, or 3, or if it's your a Phytech, or if it's a Holly Sniper, or whatever. If you're running a throttle body injection, pump gas with ethanol, you're going to want to run a little richer. And with a poor manifold. A good even a really good manifold under hard acceleration, G-forces will push the air-fuel mass towards the back. So any manifold, really. All right, learn versus OEM. And what I mean by OEM is most original manufacturer computers are much more sophisticated than the KILLSHOT ECU. And there is a number of different tables in your OEM computer that deal with fuel. Now we have a learn which corrects our air-fuel ratio, or the pulse width injections that goes into our VE table, volumetric efficiency table, and it builds the learn table. The KILLSHOT builds the learn table, populating the numbers, and once it's populated all the boxes of where you drive, it's pretty well done. It says this is what you should do, and you do it, and maybe you'll need to tweak some things somewhere, but most of the time it only takes a couple of times before you get it right. It takes a lot of driving to fill up this learn table. You're not going to fill up the whole thing, but you're going to fill up some of it, and then you transfer it over, and then the learn is pretty well done in a KILLSHOT. It's not something that's going to constantly fluctuate. and change and adjust your fuel every time you do something different, because that's not what it's for. When you change altitudes with your KILLSHOT, that changes manifold atmospheric pressure. The computer sees that and it adjusts for it. When it's cold, it adjusts for it. When it's hot, it adjusts for it. It doesn't use the learn table to figure those things out. Okay? That's why I've said you can shut this learn table off. And I spelled learn wrong. Here I am yapping at you and pointing at it, and I can see it's wrong. Okay, so now we got that corrected. So your learn table is not, it doesn't do what your OEM does. Your OEM has a short and long-term table. Short-term and long-term fuel tables, as well as others. But one of the comments was about this being equal to this, and that is not correct, at least in my understanding after talking to people, engineers that know. They didn't design the KILLSHOT, let me just say that. They're just people who do the fueling. And the short-term tables in your OEM are for very transient changes, very quick changes that your OEM learns that you need to do occasionally in this particular situation, at this particular temperature, at this particular pressure, and all of that. But it's very quick, very fast, comes and goes, and changes. And their long-term table, that would be closer to the learn. This one is adjusting. It sees that there's an issue for the long-term. It's long-term table, right? And it sets that parameter for that table at more pulse widths or less pulse width, whatever it does. And it's kind of stable. So it is a little bit like the learn, but it knows it needs this all the time. You don't jump into your OEM computer and take from the long-term table and add it to your volumetric efficiency in your OEM and call it good. You just don't do that. That's why it has this table. But the learn table doesn't work that way, because we take what from the learn table and we can put it into the VE table in the KILLSHOT, and then the learn table should be zeroed out or turned off. Once you're really good, you can turn it. Once your VE table is really good, you can turn it off, or you can just leave it on. But it's not going to do what the short-term and long-term fuel tables over here do. It's just not built that. They're just not sophisticated enough computers or software to do that. They certainly have the ability to do that if the software is written that way. But from my experience and what I'm being told, it's not written that way. So I could be terribly wrong. I'm probably going to get an ACES software engineer who says this is how we wrote our table. And if that's true, then I've been educated, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to educate others and to be educated myself. So here we are. Not the same. This is the way to go. Although your KILLSHOT will work, if you're running ethanol gas and a KILLSHOT, we should be looking for a richer than normal AFR. Questions and comments, I love them. They're what motivates me and keeps me going. Everybody, be good to each other, work on your stuff, get out and drive. I'll talk to you later.